Then, of course, we can say what is in the future of FEIF. And this is more or less a summary of what I have been talking about here. Of course, we still will have to focus on horse welfare. We'll have to focus on passion and cooperation in the whole setup, how we do it. We need to secure that we have clear rules and standards. Still continue to focus on purity and quality in our breeding. World Championship and Landsmod as the two big events attracting people from year to year. We also need to have a stronger recognition in the international horse world. And we need to secure that we continuously have and develop competent education and services in the different areas where we're acting. We need to have more members. We know that there are a growing number of, not very much, but still a growing number of Icelandic horses in some of the Eastern European countries. And it is very important that we can establish organizations there, and there, of course, it's very important that we can start to them and say, hey, we can take care of the registration of your horses. You can just combine it with a word finger and enter your horses there following a registration system. So that's extremely important to have this. I saw that when New Zealand became associate member some years ago, that it was really a nice thing to say to them concerning the registration of your horses. This has been taken care of. This is no problem. So more members and also stronger members, referring to these figures I showed you before, with the percentage of Icelandic horses, especially in Great Britain, France, and some of the mid-European countries. There is should be a big market there. And then, of course, this is very important, remember our history and the Icelandic culture as an integrated part of the whole process. And this is, of course, therefore, both Iceland plays a very, very important role to keep this role integrated in the whole process. We need Landsmod for that. And of course, also a lot of other things, but Landsmod is one of the milestones in this. If we look more or less in the end here, look at how FEIF is related internationally, we can say that we are a member now of the European Horse Network, founded in 2009, and I think there's 11 or 12 associations that has become member there. And the goal for European Horse Network is to represent the horse industry in Europe and try to influence and give proper information to EU and other decision takers in Europe, so that the impact of the horse industry can grow and be of benefit for the horse sport. And then, of course, we are proposing this year to the Delegates Assembly that FEIF should apply to become associate member of FEI. Iceland are already, as you know, member of FEI, so the associate membership is a new thing, invented I think 2 years ago, and at the moment there are, I think it's around 10 other associations that are associated member to FEI. And I think we can benefit from that, because that gives us the opportunity to make a platform concerning the question I mentioned before about riding in the nature. But also we can get some experience and knowledge and good contacts about arbitration, disciplinary matters, veterinary rules, etc., etc. So there are possibilities for us to learn and get some good ideas from an association. And at the same time, we of course will have to fulfill the code of conduct that are mentioned in the FEI rules. But this we already do. It is part of our field already. So I don't see anything that should be on the negative side for us to become an associate member. And then it's also very important to remember that compared to other organizations, FEIF is, I think, the only worldwide international horse organization that covers both breeding, sport, youth and education at the same time. Normally, the biggest breeding association in the world, or organization in the world, is the quarter horses. The second largest is, I think it is the Brazilian Mangalaga Machador horses, but they are only focusing on breeding of their horses. They are not focusing on all the other aspects. And I think that if we do this in a clever way and try to continue the development that we have, we can bring us into a position where we will stand very in a very good position in the future. And this is unlike other associations where they are only focusing on breeding or sport. So I think that is very important to keep in mind. Also, when we're talking about welfare, we're talking about youth, we're talking about sport and breeding, that we cannot only focus on one item and then leave the rest. We have to take care of all these 4 milestones, so to say. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Jens. Þá gefst okkur kostur á að spyrja. Þið getið annarkvæmt spurt á íslensku eða ensku. Það er þetta hjálpa til við að þýða spurningarnar. Er hann skilinn og klúkt í íslensku?
Já, þannig.
Þannig að
let's try both ways.
Ef þið ekki þægilega að tala á íslensku, þá er það bara í fínu lagi. En orðið er laust. Gjörun einhverju hafi.
Það var ekki fleiri spurningar. Ég voru með einhverja spurningar, það reyfi ykkur umræðið. Ég var búin að punkta. Má ég tala íslensku þér?
Já.
Ég stoppaði þær. Ég var búin að punkta svona rétt áður ég kæmi svona niður eitthvað svona aðeins sem maður að velta svona í fyrir mig. Það er þetta committee og welfare. Já. Mjög góð nefnd. En það sem er svona komið, ég finnst svona mín tilfinning fyrir því svona sem keppanda og Íslands hesta vinn, þá finnst mér að við þurfum að standa rosalega mikið vörð að hún fari ekki svona dýpt inn í grænu grassóttina, eða orðaða þannig. Að hún verði svo ekstrím. Ef við horfum til þess að við erum að tala um heimsmeistaramót, þá er þetta nærði að vera spurningum að taka þátt í dýralæknistekki. Það er orðið meira íþyngjandi heldur nokkuð tíma keppnin sjálf. Það er orðið svo sterk, þetta er orðið svo yfirþyrmandi. Þetta er orðið svo mikið, too much, já. Og spurningin er hvort við þurfum ekki að spyrna aðeins fótunum við og gera þetta ekki svona mála þetta ekki svona sterkt. Not to make it so extreme.
Yeah.
Þetta er svona það sem hefur verið að koma upp í hugum mér svona.
I would like to comment on that first. I do it in English, not so it's for me to explain. It is difficult because at the same time we are showing horses at World Championship and we have to secure that we have done a proper health check of the horse. And when we're looking back at the way they made the health check in Switzerland, where the chief vet, he was also one of the vets at the Olympic Games with the big horses. And he said that this was the best check he has ever seen. That's what I heard, at least. I haven't talked to him personally, but that's what I heard. And he said that the way we handled the check was done very fast, and not going too deep into details, but securing that if there were problems with the horse, then 3 vets very fast discuss, is this a serious matter or not? And if they found that it was not serious, then they just kept on. And if they found that it was serious, that was something that should be discussed. And I think it was only 3 or 4 horses that out of 160 horses were taken out for further investigation of what was wrong. Then they took the owners of the horse and the riders aside, and then they discussed it and secured that everybody understood that this was how it was done. So I think that the vet check made at the World Championships before the competition, I think that was done in a very proper and good way. You can of course always discuss details in it, but generally my opinion was that this was done in a proper way. And of course you can always say that it also has to do with common sense, how you handle these situations. But I think it's very important for us to show to the public that we take this serious, and we have a very specific procedure so that we can secure it. But of course you can always discuss whether the level is too high or too low, but personally I found that this, how it was done at the last World Championship, was on a very fair level.
Yeah, but if I come a little bit more with the committee, and I was thinking how she is working.
Yeah,
that's
another. Yeah.
That's another issue, and that is more that I want to go more into. That was more like it is the equipment that we are using.
Yeah.
That is
so I'll just give some info about the welfare committee.
Yeah.
We have this veterinary and welfare committee, and there we have the challenge at the moment that we only have 2 members in this committee, and the idea with the committee was that the board of 5 could make some specific questions to this committee, more general questions, and we have given some questions which has been presented and used in the work of the different committees. We still have some questions that are not still answered, so we don't know the answer yet. But we are in a situation where we should discuss whether this is the right way to organize a welfare committee like it is now. It has been functioning for, I think it's 3 years now, 3 or 4 years. So this is something that we have to decide upon next year, how we will go on with that. This is specifically for the committee. So therefore you can say that this committee are only acting and answering questions from the board, nothing else. They're not involved in anything else.
Far too little done.
Yeah.
And she would like to have it much more, and so we of course we do care about the welfare of the horses, one of the main points, so that we can stand properly and say we take care of our horses. But I was, as you also there in Globen, for example,
Yeah.
and I had backstage pass so I could go there to see how they treated the horses for them. For example, the mouth control and the control after the competition. And there was just one person who was walking with the horse backstage. She was not taking off the mouth, or she was looking if the like they all wear with white radka in the mouth and so, and she was just looking over and looking, saying that okay, it's okay. And she, in most cases, she was not touching the horses, or it was the grooms who were taking care of them. Here, I have a little bit of feeling that we are handling some sort of criminals when we are taking care of the riders when they come out of the track. They are not allowed to do anything with the horses, not loosen anything. It has to be this person, and they are looking into the mouth overall, and so even. I understand that in Sweden they had a vet check in the morning before on the competition day. But when everything is going right in the competition show, and then have some amateurs or whatever looking into, trying to find something and see if you can disqualify, and so is that the proper way for us in the future, and now we are going further in this direction. I mean, there is a proposal for that from the judges that they want to take and control with fingers about the halter and so, and we are pointing on with things. Everything is declared on the welfare of the horses, and I say it again, we want to have the welfare as high as we possibly can. But when is too much, you see? When is this going to stop?
I just want to say one thing first. What I was commenting before to you, Didi, that was the question about how the pre-check was made. So that was what I was answering. I can follow your way of thinking when you, because I also had the feeling that sometimes the way the horses were checked and the whole atmosphere around it gave a wrong attitude. Of course, it was done in a good meaning, but it has also to do with how you handle the different situations. You have to do it very silently and very properly, and find a good way to do it. And that is, of course, a very excellent example of finding the right practice and the right standards for how to carry on with this. Because we agree with the goal that we should show to the world that we are taking care of the welfare of the horse. But we should also be sure that we do it in a proper way.
If I may a little bit discuss with you there, let's say that we were placed in Sweden and we were both competing there. We went at 8 o'clock in the morning into the vet check, or for example, with a horse, and it was perfect. It was in perfect shape, no marks and nothing, neither in the mouth or the legs or anything. 2 hours later, you went into the track and you were having a beautiful show. You were showing the horse in world class. You are with the best, highest marks, and so there is a white fragga on the horse, nowhere blood or anything, you see. And the judges were giving you a lot of points because of your good riding. Is it fair that there are standing a lot of people then going after this wet check in the morning with no knowledge? Most of it's housewives in the woods or whatever. I mean, but we are also we are saying we want the welfare of the horse to be in very highly guarded, you see. But somewhere we have to place the lines, you see.
I totally agree with you, and in the example you are giving there, it's quite clear that this is, it can seem to be ridiculous to do it. I totally agree. I simply totally agree on that. But this is a good example where we need to have people with a lot of experience describing how they propose to do it. And of course, this is a combination of experienced horse people with experienced vets doing this together, and then find a solution for how to do it, so that it also, both at the same time that we show that we're doing it, and that we're doing it in a proper way, because it's also not welfare to take a very stressed and hard-breathing horse out, open the mouth, etc., etc. That's also not welfare. So we have to find a balance in this. I totally agree, but basically this is a very good example of situations that could be worked much more on, integrated in the work we are doing in the task force process, and find a way to do it. I totally agree on that.
And it's always a little bit, Jens, one has the feeling like after the last World Championship in Switzerland, we got the rumors, more or less the rumors, that there were some riders mishandling the horses backstage. That's why we have to have such much control with judges and so, to look at the trainings and so.
But this is, I mean, if you look at the FEIF system, I don't know it in details, I must admit that. But there you have a very clear description officials looking at the training, looking at the different work, also backstage. And of course you can say this is also a way where you can stop bad rumors, to say that there has been officials not pointing out that somebody are criminal, not at all, but to just to say that we have a system that's secure, that if something appears, then it's registered.
Yeah, yes, I would agree a lot to it, and I agree that there is of course necessary to have some watch there behind on the trainings, but it's always rumors.
Yes.
That something has happened, but when you who, where, what?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, we don't know it exactly, but there was somebody who said something.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like we increased a lot for the doping test. Was it because there were so many horses doped? We have never had any horse which but we increased that like we were having, and we tell it in the speaker that we increased the doping test a lot. So people start to think, Jesus Christ, are they doping the horses so much? There has never been found any doped horses on World Championship. So sometimes, even though we think very good, in my meaning, we might treat it better. But by all means, we are all thinking about the welfare of the horse. And I find it a little bit strange also that all this talk about, for example, new bits and new that, we never ask the trainers. It's only the judges or somebody else. Judges, most of them, you would never give them a loose rein if they were sitting on a horse. Because, but they are the experts, and moving forward the riding in the world.
There's only one left, so it's okay.
Thinking this is an excellent example when you say we are not asking the riders, but we have sent out this the survey. I know that this is not go detail into it, but it's just to show that we want to force the riders to take responsibility and also talk about it and come with their opinion. I mean, this is what we are trying to do, and make this setup where we give space and possibility for the riders to comment on.